Hi everybody, I'm Kate and I'm here to share with you some stories that have happened to me through my life that Spirit has laid on my heart. I should preface this by letting you know that I will not be going in chronological order through my life. I will be telling the story that Spirit has put on my heart. And today I will be starting with a story that is actually pretty traumatic. So if you struggle with PTSD, if you are a first responder who's experienced things that are harder, if you have, of course you have, um, just know that this might be a more unsettling story, and perhaps you will want to skip this one. But this story is a big part of my growth. It's spanned over the last 11 years of my life, from when I was a social worker and I burnt out doing that with PTSD. And yeah, it's been a big one. So let's dive right in. I should also let you know, not a big fan of video editing. And by saying not a big fan, it means I really don't know how to video edit. So I'm just gonna shoot this all in one shot and we're gonna go with it. So you're gonna have to just bear with me if I stutter and have to kind of grasp for what I want to say next, because it's hard sometimes to put it in a flowing order as there's so many components especially this one, over such a long period of time. And also, I'll be taking sips of coffee because that's what keeps me going. All right, so let's begin. This story, I'm going to use an alias, I guess, not an alias, but another name for the main character, other than myself, and we're going to call her Kinsey. So when I was working as a social worker about 11 years ago at a community center in the downtown core of the city that I work at, we had a very rough year in 2013. We had at least 4 women who were unalived in multiple different ways. And a lot of them were people who came through the community center that I worked at. For whatever reason, we served meals 7 days a week, so we saw a lot of different people. There was like 300 plus people there a night, so there was a wide variety of people. But this young lady was one of them, and I didn't know her, like, other than just to say hi. I didn't really know her that well. My specialty was in what did I run? The food bank, and I did housing. I helped people find housing. And so she didn't really have to access either of those services, at least not when I was there. And so I didn't know her like one-on-one as a client. I just knew her more generally in the main area that I supervised. And so this girl came to an unfortunate end in early 2013, and it was a rough one for many of our clients. They really struggled with if onlys, right? If only I hadn't been doing this that night and I had gone out with her instead. If only, if only, if only, if only. And I was there to help walk them through it and just sit with them in kind of trying to understand both the tragedy and releasing their perceived part in it, even though there wasn't. But people hold guilt for a lot of reasons. Actually, it's not real guilt. It's called false guilt, because there's no guilt that they held. They just wished they could have changed it, and so they took it on themselves. And so I sat there and just held space for them as they grieved and wondered and that sort of thing. But like I said, I didn't really know her as much on a one-on-one basis. However, where she finished out her life was very close to my house. I could actually see the building where that all happened right from my backyard. And so driving home from work, getting off the highway, anything like that, I had to drive by this building. And not long after all this happened, it started out small. Like, I would drive up and I would just feel my heart starting to race whenever I started to see the building. And then, I would start shaking. And then it turned into, I would just burst into tears as I was driving. Walking, I wouldn't go in that direction at all. I would eventually get off the expressway at different areas so that I could go a back way to home. I started avoiding my backyard a little bit. All those different kinds of things, if you've ever experienced PTSD, some of the lengths that we go to try to just keep ourselves feeling safe. And so I did all that, but I knew that I wasn't getting any better. It was getting worse. And by summer of 2014, I ended up having to take a leave of absence from work because I was just overwhelmed with the PTSD aspect of things. There was a lot of other things going on. You don't work with people struggling with homelessness and addictions and mental health issues without coming out with a few battle wounds. But so I myself left work in 2014 at the end of the summer, and thankfully my work convinced me not to quit. They just put me on leave. I wanted to be completely done, but they're like, no, go and see if you can get some help. So I went and I got EMDR, which is fantastic if you're dealing with some PTSD that is grounded in this life. It can be very helpful. And part of the reason I was really struggling was it wasn't just the social work. I was in a very, very abusive relationship at that time. I was being stalked at work, at church, at school. My kids were, being followed sometimes, and it was very intense. And so I was very overwhelmed. And so I got EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprogramming, I believe. Very effective at helping. So that helped to calm down some of the PTSD for that. But I also did it for the event that happened with this young girl who, again, we'll call Kinsey, the previous year and a half before. And it wasn't helping for that. I couldn't understand why, because it worked so well with my PTSD and my feelings of safety and all that stuff with my ex, but it was not working in this regard. So kept on going, doing counseling, like trying to just calm it down. Wasn't really working. And it wasn't until actually the fall of 2021, I believe. 2020, fall of 2020, when I went to a Reiki 1 weekend, and where I got my certificate in Reiki 1. And it was then that I realized that I was born into energy work. This is something that I've been doing my whole life. I just didn't know what to call it. And from there, I kind of learned how to view the stuff that was coming through from the other side, from those who had passed on. And it was like a night and day thing. So within a week of doing this Reiki 1 course, I got off the expressway without even thinking about it, actually. Got off the expressway and started driving home in plain view of this building. And I, instead of like starting to shake or heart palpitations, instead I just, kind of put my hand up while I was driving, and I said, Kinsey, wherever you are, I send you highest good. And I just felt a deep sense of calm come over me, and like it was the right thing to do. And I actually kind of giggled to myself because I was like, wow, like night and day difference. I can't even describe it. Like I'm still a little giddy thinking about that first time. So again, that happened every time I got off, and there were multiple places where I would think of her because, well, just for lots of reasons for that story. And so, yeah, every time I did, I would just send it out to her. Hey, Kinsey, wherever you are, I'm sending you highest good. And that went on for a couple of years. And yeah, I wasn't really understanding why she kept on coming to me. But it was there. And so I just continued sending that to her. So one day I had moved away from the house. I could see the building where everything happened. And as I was driving to get my stepdaughter from work, and my granddaughter, who was 3 at the time, was sitting in the back seat in her car seat. I thought she was asleep. Well, she had been asleep. I saw her in the rearview mirror, and she had been asleep. So we got off the expressway at the off-ramp where I used to live, that I would get off all the time. And as we're going up, I didn't like put my hands up or anything. I just, with my big noggin here, I sent out, you know, hey, Kinsey, wherever you are, I send you highest good. And little voice pipes up from the back seat. Hey, Gigi, are you sad? And I had not said anything out loud. It was only in my head. And I was like, yeah, baby girl, I am a little bit sad. And she's like, yeah, your friend died. And I instantly, you know, all the radar was going off on me. I was like, yeah, sweetheart, you know, Gigi's friend did die. And that was when she said, you know, the bad man unalived her. And I mean, this is not something that was ever talked about around her, because that happened so many years way before she was born, and B, who would do that around a 3-year-old, and you know, lots and lots of different reasons. But so I knew then that, you know, she was picking up on something, and little kids do. They're open channels. They get all this stuff. We just tend to dismiss it. So I affirmed what she knew. I said, yes, honey, that's true. So she asked me where the bad man was, and I told her that he's in jail. And she's like, oh, good. And then she's like, your friend, what's her name again? And I told her. She's like, yeah, her. She's like, does she get to have, or where does she live? And I'm like, well, she can live anywhere. And she said, can she have her body back? And I said, no, honey, she can't. She's like, oh, okay. And that was the end of the conversation. No more. And I'm very thankful that there was nobody else in the car, because, I mean, that was it was a creepy conversation if you were just overhearing it, I'm sure. But me knowing what I know, it wasn't anything to be afraid of. It was just kind of a reassurance that, hey, she's kicking around, and, you know, I'm not the only one who can feel or see her. So, you know, again, but that just reiterated to me, you know, keep on sending her highest good whenever you think about her, and I did. So that continued for a few more years until this early October. It's late November now, so about 2 months ago. And I was driving into the city. I live out of town now. So I was driving into town with my daughter, and we got off, not at my old exit, at one exit over, but this young lady had ties to that exit as well. And as I got off, not even thinking about it because I had forgotten about her association with that exit as well, got off there and then saw a forest and was like, oh yeah. So, you know, Kinsey, wherever you are, I'm sending you highest good, honey. And instantly, I knew why. I knew why she had been connecting with me for a decade. I knew some of the things that she needed release from and why she was still here so heavily with me. It's what we call a download. You get all of the information all at once. It's all just there. And I actually, I started ugly crying in the car. My daughter was like, whoa, what's going on, Mom? But I kind of just told her that we are called to go and clear this specific area and release her. Her energy is kind of trapped there at this point for a multitude of reasons. Reasons that I didn't know because I would not allow myself to look at any of the media associated with her case back when everything was going on because I was already too psychologically involved with it, and I wouldn't allow myself to be sucked in to learn any of the details. So I understood a whole lot that I shouldn't have known, and that I ended up being allowed to. Spirit told me to check on it later, and I looked it up and, had another good ugly cry as I read some of the news articles from that time, but just affirming all the stuff that I intuitively knew. And so on the anniversary that's coming up, her anniversary, a couple of my lady friends and I are going to go, and we are going to release her from that spot. We're going to clear the energy, and we're going to, everything for her highest good. Send her wherever she wants to go, release her to be wherever she wants to be, with whomever she wants to be with. But I know now that that is why she has been linked with me this whole time, and I haven't been ready up until now. I've only just learned how to do some of this clearing stuff, and so she, I guess, kind of had to wait for me, and I'm thankful that time on the other side is not like here, because I would feel really bad for her having to wait for me to catch up in terms of my understanding, but she's been beautifully patient, and it's been very affirming because my best friend, my Anamkara, she also got some visions too after I told her what happened in regards to this young lady, and just affirmed that we need to wait until the snow is on the ground, and so that'll be coming up soon for us to go and help her out. So this is a story that hopefully will very shortly have a beautiful ending to it. It's an ugly story, but there can be a beautiful outcome to it, and I'm thankful that I have the gifts and the knowledge and the willingness to do this for her, and that I have beautiful friends who can help support me in doing some big, heavy energy work like this, because it's not something that I want to do alone. Can I? Of course I can. The universe supports me in doing whatever I need to, but I'm thankful to have other ladies who are just as talented as me, and who are willing to help be there and support her transition. So again, Kinsey, wherever you are, sweetheart, I'm sending you highest good, and to all of you who have listened and heard this story, it's the first one of many, but I'm thankful to you, and I am sending you love and highest good wherever you are as well. Be well, dear ones.